I now call the Huntsville City Council meeting to order. If all that would like to and are able to, please rise for the invocation led by the Reverend Frank Broyles, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Gunnar Hulebak. Reverend Broyles.
Let us unite in prayer. Without a doubt, in this room, grace abounds. People care. The city gathers to advance the commonwealth that we call Huntsville. We thank you, eternal God, that with the right combination of goodwill, strong leadership, a vibrant citizenry, and the skills and tools of democracy, we can be stewards of tonight. We do not take for granted this gift of the evening, and we pledge ourselves to look beyond self-interest and rancor to seek the best for the most. Grant us patience, the capacity to listen, and the willingness to honor the dignity and worth of others who may differ in position but not in value. Move us forward now into an evening of careful deliberation and wise decision. This is our prayer and our hope, offered in the confidence of your presence and of your purpose. Amen.
Attention, salute, flag. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Broyles, and thank you, Gunnar. The minutes from the October 10th, 2013 meeting have been received and they'll stand approved if no objections. We're now at resolutions and special recognitions. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could ask Robert Lockwood to come up. Robert's here representing quite a few people in the legal field. There are hundreds of thousands of people who are in the low-income area who can't afford lawyers or do not have legal representation or legal help. And because of that, there are lawyers who come out and help people and do it on a pro bono basis. And tonight we have a resolution which commends them for the actions that they do and names October 20th through the 27th as Pro Bono Week in the city of Huntsville. And Robert, you want to tell us about some of the actions of what people are doing and some of the programs that are going on?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Robert Lockwood. I'm a practicing attorney here in Huntsville, and I'm president of the board of directors of the Madison County Volunteer Lawyer Program. And as lawyers, we're ethically called upon to render service to all aspects of the community, and particularly to render pro bono service. Pro bono service is free legal work to those in need, and I personally feel a call, and I know 350 other lawyers in this town feel the call to help the least of these. And so as a result, we render free legal services to those who are living at or just above the poverty line. And as a result of that, it's a benefit not only to those individuals, but also to our community, to our employers, and to the overall well-being of Madison County. So we're proud to render that service to our community, and we greatly appreciate this proclamation from the City Council.
Robert, thank you for your service and thank you for those 350 people. I will point out that he does get paid sometimes because he has to make a living, and he's a very successful lawyer out there, so it's nice of him to go out and contribute his talents. Thank you, Robert. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor. Next up is a resolution recognizing Carol Madry Bell for her numerous years of volunteer service to the Brick Spring Partners Board and Development, Redevelopment, and Betterment of Downtown Huntsville.
Mr. President, I so move for passage.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Kling, second by Dr. Showers. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Kling, you have the floor.
Mr. President, I'd just like to cover just a few of the great achievements that have been done by Ms. Carol Madry Bell, who's in the audience. Carol, I've known for several years, going back to our old college days. I went to one university and she went to a different university in the state, but we've always been friends and kept things very, very cordial despite the football differential that we had. Carol has done a lot over the years for the development of downtown Huntsville, and I just think she deserves to be recognized for some of her wonderful achievements. A little bit about Carol. She holds a BA in Public Relations from Auburn University. She's nationally accredited in public relations and was recognized as a senior practitioner by the Southern Public Relations Federation. Carol is certified in nonprofit board education from BoardSource, Inc. and received additional training from the Alabama Nonprofit Board Leadership Institute. She's a graduate of Leadership, Huntsville-Madison County, and Leadership, Alabama. Carol also is a strategic planning and training consultant. She serves as the executive director of the Huntsville Committee of 100, a business political action organization of 225 CEOs and professionals. Carol has presented training sessions in boardsmanship and political campaign management and provided strategic planning and public relations services for numerous businesses and nonprofit organizations. Carol also serves as a member of the Chamber of Commerce of Huntsville-Madison County Board of Directors, Redstone Senior Leaders Council, the Advisory Board of Downtown Huntsville, Inc., Advisory Board of Burt Museum, and Advisory Council for the Huntsville Housing Authority. Carol also has served in other capacities that focus specifically on the improvement of downtown Huntsville. She's a founding board member of Big Spring Partners from 2000 to 2003. She's a consultant from 2004 to 2005. She's a consultant in forming Downtown Huntsville, Inc. in 2013, including the formation of the new board of directors, new mission and goals, and raising more than $1 million in 3-year funding. And I think that's a great achievement especially. Carol's also a member of the CEO Search Committee for Downtown Huntsville, Inc. She's a consultant in developing creative Huntsville plan for the Arts Council, including the new arts and entertainment initiatives that we're seeing in the downtown and also throughout the entire Huntsville metro area. Carol's a consultant in developing destination city plans for the Convention and Visitors Bureau, which work to help improve tourism and economic development and marketing in the downtown Huntsville area. Carol has done many things, and let me just say that we want to use this resolution, Carol, as a small way for the mayor and the city council to express our appreciation and admiration for your great achievements that you've done. I'd like to ask if Mayor Battle and President Russell would also join me down with Carol. The three of us have the privilege of working with Carol on the Big Spring Partners Board of Directors. And again, it's just a great honor for us to be able to recognize you for all the great things that you have done for the community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, Mayor.
Carol, would you like to say anything? We'll be glad to give you the microphone.
No, just happy to live in such a great city, be part of such a great visionary city.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good.
Next, we have a resolution recognizing Eagle Scout Gunnar Hulebak for his recommendation to the Boy Scouts of America Medal of Merit for outstanding leadership and exceptional implementation of teachings and experiences learned in the Boy Scouts by Jeff Seale, Assistant Scoutmaster, Troop 7343. The chair moves for approval. Second by Dr. Showers. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It carries. Mr. Olshefski, you have the floor.
Number 4 for me in 3 years. That means to me it's a big deal when I get an opportunity to do this. Let me just say you have a hero amongst you right now. And this hero happens to be a young man who happens to be an Eagle Scout. Okay? Hero among, you couldn't hear me, Eileen? I know you could. All I can say is it all starts when you have great Americans that live within your city who tell you stories that you don't know about. And then you get to hear about these great stories, real world stuff, and then you say to them, you know, we can do a resolution for that at City Hall because it's worthy of that and it's worthy of the public to know it. Because you don't know how much publicity it gets, but you need publicity for these kind of things because this is a big deal. In the Boy Scout world, I gotta put my old man glasses on. In the Boy Scout world, the highest medal you can get is the Medal of Merit. And I learned during this process that there's one of Medal of Merit is for the young man or woman, young man, to save somebody's life and his life's in danger is why he's saving somebody's life. And then there's one for you save somebody's life and your life isn't in danger. Well, this young man has got one of those. So come on up here, Gunnar. You stand right here, buddy. This is a resolution 13816, whereas the City Council and Mayor of City of Huntsville, Alabama are apprised that Eagle Scout Gunnar Hulebak has been submitted for the Boy Scouts of America Medal of Merit for outstanding leadership, exceptional implementation, and teachings, experiences learned in the Boy Scouts. This honor is being recommended by Jeff Seale, Assistant Scoutmaster, Troop 343, Hampton Cove, Alabama. Whereas on Tuesday, February 26, 2013, Eagle Scout Gunnar Hulebak was driving home from high school when he observed a jogger attempting to cross the street in front of him. Not seeing the traffic approaching from behind, the jogger turned into the street and was struck by the front right side of the trailing vehicle directly in front of Gunnar. And whereas this young man was thrown into the gutter, striking his head and face on the curb. Gunnar witnessed the entire accident. After his bringing his vehicle to complete stop, he placed his vehicle in park and activated the hazard lights. He ran to the victim and to administer first aid. With the assistance of the fellow high school student, Gunnar began to treat the victim for shock. Recognizing the victim was disoriented, bleeding profusely from the mouth and suffered from a severely broken leg, he stabilized the victim's body and started to provide comfort and reassurance that additional help would soon arrive. The victim had lost many teeth, and because of the amount of bleeding coming from his mouth and jaw, Gunnar determined it was best to elevate the victim's head to allow him to breathe without choking. And whereas at the same time, Gunnar checked to ensure emergency 911 had been called and that rescue vehicles were en route. He then directed other bystanders to support the victim and provide continued care and comfort. Whereas seeing a traffic jam was developing, Gunnar then directed traffic away from the accident scene to clear a path for emergency vehicles. The ambulance arrived within 8 minutes of the accident and was shortly followed by local police and firemen. The victim was immediately attended by the paramedics, placed in the ambulance, and transported to a local hospital for emergency care and surgery. And whereas Eagle Scout Gunnar Hulebak's use of skills acquired in the Boy Scouts of America reflects highly on him and the leadership of Troop 343. His proficiency in providing rapid assistance to a severely injured victim, directing other bystanders to assist, and securing the accident scene to allow easy access for emergency vehicles demonstrated lessons well learned. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the City Council and the Mayor of Huntsville, Alabama, that we hereby recognize and express our admiration and appreciation of Eagle Scout Gunnar Hulebak, Troop 343, for his bravery, courage, heroism, and service to the fellow man in the performance of this bold deed. It is certain the lessons and training received in the Boy Scouts have and will serve you well throughout your life. We wish you the very best in all your future endeavors and a continued life of service, leadership, and service. Signed by all these great Americans up here and our mayor. Congratulations, gentlemen. Now, one more thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to let him have a second here. What I'm going to say is, then he had to go outside and do a great interview with Channel 31. And he got out there. I'm not sure he got trained on how to do an interview, but if there's a badge for an interview on how to deal with the press, he should get that too. Gunner's for you, buddy.
Thank you so much. This is just such a great honor for me to be able to achieve this award. And honestly, I would not be where I am today at all if it wasn't for Troop 343. Scouting is just a huge part of my life, and it has shaped me into who I am today. And honestly, the Scoutmasters who run this, they're really the ones who you should be rewarding right now, because they have taught me everything I needed to learn, everything I needed to do at the time that the accident happened. They taught me this, and I would really like everybody just to give them a round of applause, please. They're just awesome. And I really just want everybody to know that, like, scouting is very important, and young people really need scouting in their lives because it teaches you all the skills you need to know in life and all the skills that you need to be successful in life. So I just really want to emphasize how important it is. And if you do have the chance, Troop 343 is a great troop. And if you have any children who are coming up and maybe want to join scouting, Troop 343 is where you need to go. We need a lot of good parents to help out. We got some great guys now, and it's just awesome. Troop 343 is amazing.
All right, there you go, young man. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Olshefski. That was very nice. Council members, on our announcements, we have 15 double C has been deleted from our agenda. 15 double C has been deleted. And we have some guests with us today. We have students from the graduate social work from Alabama A&M University Social Welfare Policy class. Dr. Pamela Plummer is the instructor. Could you raise your hand? Yeah. Would one of y'all like to go to the microphone and tell us why you're here and what you're working on? Ma'am, if you'd state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Brittany Jordan. I am here with my colleagues from the Alabama A&M Social Work program. We're here with our policy class, and we're just here to observe and see how we conduct business here in the city of Huntsville.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Welcome. Council members, we have no business with outside legal representation. We do have public hearings to be held. Now is the time and place for a public hearing on ordinance number 13-652, amending the approved Transect Plan, Open Space Plan, Development Plan, and Phasing Plan for Providence Plan Development, LUI rating 5.6, to include a relayout of the approved Providence Plan Development. This was set September 12, 2013 at the regular council meeting. Ms. Leto?
Yes, this changes the layout of the plan development to reallocate property in various transects, resulting in an overall increase in the amount of property allocated to Transect 4 and an overall decrease in the amount of property allocated to Transect 1. And this is the area we're talking about right here. Transect 1, which is the purple color, is their permanent open space. Transect 4, which is the yellow color, is their higher density residential development area. And the area in particular is this area right here where the lot lines have been adjusted to allow for the topography of the lots and the house plans they would like to use. So you're reallocating the property from Transect 1 to Transect 4. And also this small area here was previously Transect 1. That will be reallocated to Transect 4 in order to provide some additional off-street parking. It will remain common area. And even with these changes, they're still above the open space, the minimum open space requirement for the plan development. And Planning Commission has recommended approval.
Thank you, Ms. Leto. Does anyone from the public wish to address the council on this particular issue? Public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Kling, second by Dr. Showers. Discussion? Ms. Leto, could you just say in layman's terms what you're doing here?
We're moving lot lines.
Moving lot lines, making them smaller, bigger, depending on the topography of the neighborhood?
We're making them slightly larger.
Slightly larger. Okay, thank you. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Scouts, we would love to have you stay all night, but if you have schoolwork or anything you need to do tonight, now would be a good time to leave. So it's up to y'all. We're going to move on then, okay? Well, now they're thinking about it. We're now at communications from the public. When I call your name, you have 3 minutes to address the city council. First up is Mr. Reginald Hill. Mr. Hill, if you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Reginald Hill, 626 Blake Bottom Road.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President, City Council, and Mayor for the opportunity to speak. I normally come up here with something very well prepared, but today I just kind of want to touch on a few points and speak from the heart about some issues that we're facing here in the good city of Huntsville. Are we truly bettering the quality of life for all our citizens, and are we really focusing on being one Huntsville? The city has always been known for making great decisions. This comes from integration, NASA consistency, being able to have a surplus in the economy as well, keeping jobs during a national recession, things of this nature. But we're also in a time where even the most innovative school system in the nation produces the most failing schools in its respective state. Now, when is it safe to bring along the community, which includes our elected officials, to begin putting input into the decisions and solutions to these issues? Our school board has proposed closing these failing schools, giving them a new name, kind of brushing it under the rug. And they label it with cliches such as enrollment issues, financial circumstances, property values, lack of parental involvement, things of this nature. And our superintendent has also spoken that these schools will be paid from taxpayers' monies, whereas the consultants in the particular constituency have not even been consulted on the issues that are at hand with the educational system. I want to bring to forefront an example that was given by a member of the Alumni Association, which spoke of this same issue going on in Detroit, Michigan. They spoke of a I'm not even sure of her name, Mae Jemison, changing the name in the same instance where 1,200 kids were put down to about 400, downsized to about 400 kids, to do the same things that they're proposing to do here in Huntsville. And it had the exact same name. But this school is in worse condition than it was when they did the movements. So we have to examine, are we really going to fix any issues in the school system by simply changing the name of a school? Now, I went on to think further on now, did our school officials and even the city officials put into mind that different areas where we've had gang-related opportunities, where we've had violence consistently growing, we're now housing these kids all in the same building. And I thought, well, did we think about the safety of the community in that aspect? Well, of course we did, because we are using the new Johnson facility as a police academy partially. So these people will be right here directly next to the issue that is at hand. So we may try and cover up the racial scrutiny that is in place, but there's a lot going on. And that needs to be addressed by all of our officials, because we're all are part of this community if we want to be one Huntsville.
Mr. Hill, your time's up. Do you need another minute to finish?
Just a minute, please.
One more minute.
Thank
Please
you,
go ahead.
And the last statement that I want to say, because as I said before, this is more so just from the heart today, because I really want you all to understand how serious this is. It's just blatantly ironic that the KKK was founded in Pulaski, Tennessee. And now we're going to take all of the predominantly black schools in this city, put them in one building on Pulaski Pike. Now, this may not say any reference to you, or it may not make any meanings to you, but it's very influential to me, a person who moves on the spirit and who moves on the things that are more than just what we put on paper. We're making decisions as leaders and not considering all the people that are involved, nor the things that may come on years and years and years from now. So as we move forward, I ask that you all will urge this board to be more transparent, as well the same with the council. I've tried to meet with the superintendent and mayor on several occasions, to no reservations on either part, as well members of the council. These are things that I feel need to be addressed.
Sir,
Thank you so much.
Your time's up. Thank you. Mr. Ron Deemer.
Thank you. I also wish to thank the president and the mayor and all you councilmen. I do believe Huntsville is a grand place to live, and a lot of that is due to your work, and I do appreciate that. I've been here about 2 or 3 years ago, and you helped solve a problem for me, so hopefully you'll help me solve this problem as well. There's a package in front of each of you. It looks like this. It's actually dealing, my name incidentally is Ron Deemer, and the property that I'm concerned with is naturally 2101 Kildare Street, and the property adjacent to that is where I have a few issues. As you can see on the first page there, there's kind of a huge fence going up. I'm all for a fence, but it depends upon how it's implemented and where it's placed. Also, that fence was under an agreement with the city of Huntsville on a deal that was signed back on the 25th of July of 2013, incidentally, which was completely unknown to me. I basically have 4 issues. One is not being notified as a property owner when this basically was argued or discussed or whatever. The other one is with that agreement with the city, there's an area that's 23 feet from the front property line of both 2005 and my property. That's 23 feet from the city road. What the city has done under that agreement is they've allowed the other individual to put a fence right out on the street, and you'll see some of those issues coming up. The other point of interest is the hazards on the road and the use of that road. If you flip and see the next page, again, it's the same pictures you saw in the first. However, I think a good hazard analysis and risk assessment would limit the risk and limit these things from becoming an issue. We all have the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness naturally under our Constitution. As you flip the page, you'll see I have a video, and any of you that would like to see a copy of that video, I have it on a DVD, and I've made enough copies where I can give a copy to each one of you if you so like. I forgot to put it on your desk there when I passed out those other receipts, and I apologize for that. But you'll see there that the individuals involved in the agreement that you signed, the one that you signed with is in the middle of the road there, and there's another young man that's going down the middle of the street, and he's out there basically agitating the situation. You also see in the background, and when you hear it, it's good that we don't play it. I wouldn't play it with all these young people here. There's a lot of profanity and stuff that comes out of this woman's mouth, which is harassing that individual that's in the middle of the street. And of course, you know who you signed the agreement with. He's the one that's actually standing out there. And there's a video on that DVD for you.
Sir,
the next picture,
do you need another minute to finish?
I do, please,
Okay.
please. The next picture is a guy going down the street in a wheelchair. And again, I think the Federal Disability Act is probably violated. Also, you see how close that fence is. That's actually 23 feet from that point is where the property line actually is. The rest of that is actually city property. I think it's a misuse of a resource of the city. If you go to the next one, and I'll be very quick on these, you've got the information, the problems, and I addressed those in there. The fact that I wasn't notified, I found out about it from a city worker when they wanted to move the water meters and asked me permission, and I was on my way up to give a certification course to some government workers in Maryland at the time, and I was in the middle of Virginia when I received the phone call. And so I got a copy of the agreement that you signed. It was faxed to me, and I was stunned when I actually read it. The next page is actually the water meters that's at point. And when you look at the next one, you'll see the line there. I'm on this page right here. You'll see that line. That's 23 feet. That's all city property. I have 6 water meters there. And the other gentleman now, because of the city's agreement, claims 1.5 of those meters. And he basically tells my tenant, he's also told some city workers that he's going to construct a fence around that, put a gate on it, and give a key to the meter readers. And me and my tenants are hanging out. So, bottom line, you'll see some other pictures of what I recommend to tear out some of those posts and put the line, that's on the next one here, where the yellow ones are the posts that need to be removed, the red ones are the fence, and the bottom line of all of this, one last thing, and I'll be out of your hair.
Thank you.
The last page there, again, that hazard analysis, but I believe that being this is going to be used for private use, I think that that agreement of the 25th of July 13 should be placed on permanent hold until a risk assessment and hazard analysis is actually accomplished. Being that's going to be turned over for private use, I believe the funding should be paid by Mr. Wright, who is the owner of that property. I believe that should be staffed with the city and also staffed with the homeowners that would be directly affected, like me, in my business there. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Deemer. Mr. Davis, could you address the current status of this, please?
Yes, council members, I spoke on Monday to the property owner. Just to give you some background with Kildare, the road itself. It has an abnormal wide right-of-way for the size street that Kildare is, being a 2-lane. The original plans for Kildare in the master plan years ago with the city was for Kildare to be a 4-lane divided or a 3-lane road going north. At the time we entered into a contract in brought to council, we did not want to vacate that right of way, just to protect the right of way for future needs of the city. What we did do is allow a use variance, which we have done in the past in other parts of the city. As far as the fence itself, we are in contact with the property owner to change the intent of the fence. The fence that was under construction that we have put a stop work order on was not the fence that was implied to us with the use. And Mr. Wright is complying to that and is submitting architectural renderings to a fence that's more in style of what the use was to be.
Mr. Davis, would you mind meeting with Mr. Deemer outside the meeting and
be happy to.
keep him up?
Thank you.
The current line, just putting the height aside for just a minute, but the line that the fence is there currently, is that distance between the street, the pavement, and the line of the fence? How much distance is that supposed to be on a street like that to have a fence that close to the street?
Councilman Showers, that's one of the things that we're going with Mr. Wright is not only the distance from the edge of pavement, but also the height.
Yes.
And that varies depending on the final height of the fence. We're looking at more of a 4 to 5 foot picket style, white painted to go with time era of the historic home. And that will, once we have that, that will depend on how close to the right of way or the edge of pavement that it is. The current fence that was being installed is very much too close to the edge of pavement.
Okay. Before you go to speak with Mr. Dearman,
I'm sorry.
excuse me, the policy when a abutting property abuts another property, is there not some policy on allowing that individual to be notified that that is going to happen? Or if a utility structure is in the ground already, meter boxes, and that particular project allows that to obstruct something that's already there, is anything in the policy that directs the person that's doing that to communicate to the property owner that that's going to happen? And does that supposed to come to the planning committee or the zoning committee?
No.
Mr. Showers, if you will permit me to answer this, and this is an entirely unusual situation all the way around. The water meters are installed within the easement or the rights of way owned by the city of Huntsville. So this ordinarily would never be an issue anyway. I mean, a fence would not be constructed or installed to block a water meter. As Mr. Davis pointed out, because of the extraordinarily wide right-of-way on a road where that much right-of-way is not currently needed, the city granted a license, an agreement to allow the property owner to use the right-of-way, which the city could revoke at any time. He doesn't own the property. The city just granted him the right to use it. Because of all these issues that have arisen, we're going to go back and meet with the property owner and resolve all of them. So this is not something that would occur in the normal course of business within the city of Huntsville for other property owners, if that kind of answers your question.
It does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Everham. Mr. Vernon T. McCants.
Hello, how you doing? I want to thank you. I want to thank the president of the board as well as the mayor and the District 1 Representative Councilman Richard Showers for giving me this opportunity to address you in this format. I am here to make a preliminary request as a member of an organization located at 3706 Kenwood Drive, Huntsville, Alabama, 35810. This preliminary request pertains to a subdivision regulation for the city of Huntsville, both Article 3.2, Section 5, Major Subdivision, and Article 6.3, Section 4, Minor Subdivision. Both articles refer to requiring a public hearing and notification of a public hearing to all adjoining property owners. This request is not only being initiated to ensure the growth of said organization, but also in order to protect the newly authorized programs for Lakewood Elementary and the resources and programs geared towards the residents of Lakewood community. It is my desire that this body acknowledge the need for above articles to be fully followed to the letter. Thank you for your time and look forward to your good counsel concerning these matters. And may God bless you and guide you within this matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Dr. Showers.
could I request that the Department of Zoning meet with Mr. McCants based on what he has said to us tonight about that situation? Is the zoning director here tonight? Okay. Ms. Boswick, could you meet with Mr. McCants on the outside on this issue?
I'd be happy to. We met earlier today as well, but I'll certainly meet with him again. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ms. Michelle Watkins.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Watkins. I live at 3310 East Helena Drive. Council members and Mayor, and Mr. Mayor, as you campaigned One City, One Vision, where does North Huntsville lie in that slogan? Industry will not relocate due to substandard schools. Housing sales and economic development has stayed away from North Huntsville for this reason. Now, this is a city issue. Understanding that we play a vital role in North Huntsville development and improving schools, what role are you as the mayor of all the people playing? Please note, while the name change of Johnson is an important issue, other important issues such as programs, positive community involvement, positive industry, and city government are equally as important. A name change does nothing if the stigma remains the same and resources continue to be focused on other areas. There is and will continue to be community involvement, but the community does not believe the current path is the correct one. Combining two minority failing high schools will not help North Huntsville. In closing, sir, I support One City, One Vision. However, it is becoming apparent that there is not a voice for Northwest Huntsville that represents the will of residents in reference to schools. Johnson's district elected you, our mayor, to ensure equality and that our voices are heard and recognized throughout this great city. A city that has applied for to be a compassionate city should show compassion to residents who are being purposely left out of planning for their community. We have a school board that has left us out. We have a school board that does not speak to us, does not include us, and does not have transparency. That is a problem in this city. Thank you.
Shonda Weeks.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm going to read a note that I actually wrote. I'm actually the executive director. I'm Tashonda Weeks from First Stop. And this letter basically is in reference to the camp closures that is going on, known as Tent City. First Stop operates the day shelter to service the needs of the underserved, unsheltered homeless. The First Stop Day Shelter allows each client shelter from the elements, access to a mailing address and telephone number, access to shower and laundry facilities, a weekday meal, and the most important component, case management. The First Stop case managers, all of whom have a social service degree, provide outreach services to those individuals in the camps, along with the weekly outreach teams, as well as work with each individual by assessing their needs and providing them with assistance to get those needs met. Some of those needs may include identification, medical care access, and assistance with the Social Security process, employment assistance, and housing. The goal of the case managers is to get that client's needs met to lead to a permanent supportive housing placement. In reference to the recent notification of the Derrick Street camp closure, known as Tent City, there are several things that are to be addressed regarding this development. In that particular camp, there were only about 20 people located in that camp, with only 4 individuals with a veteran status. All veterans have been linked with the Veterans Administration and are currently on a waiting list for a housing placement. Upon notification of the camp closure, a meeting was held at First Stop in September to inform the clients on how First Stop will assist with their relocations. Each individual was posed the question, "What are your plans?" The purpose of this was to get the clients to be more responsible, accountable, and involved in the direction they want their lives to go in. The clients were told that we do not have a set location for them to move, but to notify us of a possible location so we could obtain verification from Sergeant Roberts that the location is okay. Those individuals who are able to stay in an overnight shelter were advised and encouraged to stay there, and those with an income were advised to follow up with First Stop so they can be assisted with finding and obtaining housing. First Stop's focus is to rehabilitate these individuals back into society with the level of self-sufficiency that will allow them the ability to maintain a residence. We are working toward more of a long-term solution as opposed to something short-term. First Stop saw a total of 189 clients during the time period of July the 1st, 2012 to June the 30th, 2013.
Ms. Weeks, do you need more time?
Please.
Okay.
Of that number, only 12% were veterans. Also during this time period, First Stop housed a total of 30 clients through the Shelter Plus Care program, supportive housing program, or through the income of the client. First Stop works very well with the various organizations, congregations, and individuals within the community and welcomes any suggestions on how we can come up with a long-term solution for our homeless in this community. We are here to service the needs of the homeless and will continue to do this. And I just ask that if there is any questions or concerns regarding First Stop, please contact us directly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure the next person's first name. The last name looks like Arnold. Ma'am, if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Lanice Arnold, 2112 Buckingham Drive. As the Executive Director of the North Alabama Coalition for the Homeless and a board member of the Alabama Alliance to End Homelessness, I would like to first thank Mayor Battle and the council members for your support over the past years. The mission of the North Alabama Coalition for the Homeless is to educate the public regarding homelessness and to coordinate and facilitate efforts of agencies, communities, and concerned citizens into a seamless continuum of care and to effect positive solutions to homelessness in Madison, Morgan, Limestone counties of North Alabama. Two key phrases in our mission statement are, number one, to coordinate and facilitate efforts of agencies. Number two, to effect positive solutions to homelessness in Madison County. The continuum of care is comprised of trained professional homeless service providers and advocates who have over a decade of professional service experience working with the homeless community. Our goal is to eradicate homelessness by developing long-term solutions in order to assist our clients with transitioning from homelessness back to self-sufficiency. We believe that our client needs are greater than a tent, a blanket, a meal, and a porta potty. Our agency members are trained to develop service plans to address issues that are barriers to permanent housing placements. I would like to educate you on some of the agencies that are COC members as well as the services they provide. Our emergency shelter partners are the Salvation Army, the Breaking Free Rescue Mission, and the Downtown Rescue Mission. As a continuum, our desire is that the clients utilize these shelters while actively seeking employment and working with case managers of our member agencies to seek better housing options. Now, the reality is not all our clients will be able to reside at the shelters due to barriers. As a continuum of care in partnership with the shelters, we are actively working to eliminate those barriers. The Huntsville-Madison County Mental Health Center, in partnership with the Huntsville Housing Authority, provides housing as well as supportive services to homeless clients diagnosed with mental illness through our HUD-funded supportive Shelter Plus Care program. They also provide mental health counseling and substance abuse treatment to our homeless community. The Department of Veteran Affairs provides approximately 105 vouchers to homeless veterans in our community. Through the collaboration of the Continuum of Care partners, these vouchers have been increased from 35 to 105 since 2009. The First Stop Incorporated provides homeless outreach services to individuals residing in our partnering shelters as well as homeless camps. They also provide housing placements to individuals and families through our HUD-funded supportive housing programs. Our LIFT housing program provides housing placements and case management services to homeless families with children enrolled in our local school system. The New Futures Family Lodge provides transitional housing to single parents with children of opposite gender over the age of 12 that would not normally meet the admittance criteria of our other shelters. The Rye Rose Home for Children provides transitional housing for homeless pregnant teen age girls, as well as placements for homeless single mothers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Arnold. Casey Brown. Mr. Brown, please give your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Casey Brown. I live at 199 Mimi Lane.
I'm sorry, 199
Mimi Lane.
Mimi Lane. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mayor Battles, good to see you again. Councilman Showers, everyone else. I'm the president of the J.O. Johnson Alumni Association. Not long ago, we had 350 people do a protest march here to keep our community's identity. We have 1,500 signatures on a petition that's being actively ignored right now. We went to a school board meeting last week where the school board violated their own naming policy to go ahead and vote in the Mae Jemison name. People had doors shut on them. Seats were already taken before the public was allowed to come in. If you didn't have a seat, you couldn't stand. You had to go behind the closed doors. If we're one Huntsville, how come no one in Northwest Huntsville has their vote respected or their word respected? Where are these people that support the Mae Jemison name besides the school board themselves? Macaulay, Carlos Matthews, and Raynard Jones. Where's the rest of them? Because I got people marching all over, signing petitions, voicing their concerns, and they're being actively ignored. Mayor Battle, I'm just curious where you stand in all this, because I know you say the school boards, you don't deal with school boards. School board just does its thing, but you hold the highest office in the city. How do you feel about it? Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jackie Reed? Mayor, do you want to speak?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, and I really would like to respond to this. I think it's one of those issues that is hitting the community. When I first came into office 5 years ago, we had a disparate school system. We had schools that were targeted schools, that were schools that were on alert, that were scoring way down here. We had other schools that were scoring way up here. And that is a serious problem. That is a serious problem with this city. We attacked that problem when Casey Wardensky came in. We attacked it with one-to-one technology. We attacked it with the STAR system, which does assessment on children. And the STAR system assesses our children in schools, all 23,000 of them, 4 times a year. We can tell if at the end of a year, if a teacher has given a year's worth of instruction, if we've had a year's worth of advancement. We also have the one-to-one technology for many of those children and many of those students who are sitting in the underprivileged homes. This is the first time they've had a computer in their home. And by having that computer in that home, they're learning technology. They're learning how to come forward. Any of you who made Laura Hall's town hall meeting 2 months ago, we had each principal come forward and talk about the advancements of those schools and the advancement of those schools with the one-to-one technology, with their plan to improve those schools. We had improvements of 25% in reading, 25% in math. That is the most important thing. If we can keep those kind of improvements, we're in great shape. The teachers also, the principals also came forward and gave their game plan, how they can keep having 25% improvements in those schools. That is important. Everything else out there besides test scores and the learning of the schools and what we learn in those classrooms is clutter. We have to have learning in those schools. And if you're going to step forward and you're going to make sure that you have learning in those schools, I applaud you. I applaud every one of you. I applaud you for being in the schools, for mentoring, for reading coach, for doing all the things we have to do in those schools to make them survive and to make them good schools. That's my emphasis. That's my focus on the education system. And that's what I'm going to push for. We have to have good schools. We have to have schools that are equal. We have to have schools in the South that are equal to the schools in the North, schools in the East that are equal to the schools in the West. That is the focus of us as a city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Jackie Reed?
Good evening. Thanks for allowing public input. I want to say that I call all the school board members chickens, bunch of chickens. I'm not no chickens in the city. As you see, I'm still standing firm, no chickens in the city. But when the school board pulled what they did last week, if the school board won't let nobody talk or stand up or anything, I called every one of them a bunch of chickens, and that's what I think of them. Anyway, I don't think that deal is over. I do not believe in changing names of the high school. It's for the betterment of education. I do not believe in changing the names of streets. There's new streets coming in, so, I mean, we can't change everything in the city overnight. We just can't do it. I hope we stop that right quick. I want to thank the state and the city for the white lines. Oh, they are great. I can see how to drive around town, and I'm sure everybody else can. I appreciate that. I think that's a good thing that you're doing. Whatever happened about the Walmart deal? Can we not do anything? People are still asking me, help, Ms. Reed. It's too late, I say. Are there anything that you all can get together and try to make Walmart happy and get them away from down there and stop this? I would like to think that you would do that. City parking garage downtown where you're going to put the new condos across the street from the federal building downtown. I know you're working on that. I hope that's not a quite closed deal. I want that property appraised before you lease that out somewhere. Let us know what's going on. Anyway, I would like to see if Mr. Rex Reynolds would come to the microphone. I have a whole lot of good stuff to say about him tonight.
It's up to Mr. Reynolds.
I'm really going to miss him. This is the last night, and he's already got a replacement city administrator. No, I just want to say that one of Chuck, my man Chuck Bell's worked with his father. Chuck never complimented anybody. You don't hear me either. It takes a whole lot. But Chuck said his father had worked with him in the aerospace business, 2 different companies. He was the finest man he ever knew in his whole life. He said, if this man is half of what his father is, I want to say tonight, he's everything his father was, and then some. Intelligent, good-looking, honest, caring, got common sense. He handled his job A+, triple plus. I want to say, I'm surely going to miss him sitting up there and being speaking at the meetings and everything. I know my daughter was at a lot of meetings where he was speaking for the public, and like I said, I would just wish him and his family the best of everything. And I'd be remiss if I hadn't said that tonight. Thank you for everything you've done for the city, Rex. I'll quit on that. Thank you.
That was a good inning. Thank you, Mr. Reed. Pastor T.C. Johnson.
T.C. Johnson, 1800 Sparkman Drive.
Welcome.
This will be a surprise, but I came to thank the mayor and the council. You're not fainting. For selecting Lewis Morris as the chief of police. I had reservations about that because I thought we should get someone from outside, but the job he's done thus for us has been changing the atmosphere, especially for the North. You may not have noticed, but we noticed that not one black citizen has been killed in the hands and custody of the police since he's been down there. That's a change if you'll check the record. And I attribute that to his sensitivity toward what the police department should be a picture of for the city. One of the most powerful institutions we have here that get the opportunity to ruin citizens' lives just by attitudes and behavior. Also, if you will, during his time down there, he has changed the complexion, and we have black leadership in the command staff. And that's very important when you come to the table for decision-making for a city to have diversity in culture. Now, there are some who didn't like that and don't necessarily approve that, but he wasn't about that. He was about the right thing. The rumor is that he's about to be forced out or asked to step down. Mayor, know it or not, I haven't been down here because my phone's not ringing off the hook all the time from people who call, police officers who call our African-American female bad names and the N-word. Haven't got but a few calls on that. I can talk directly to this chief. And one of the things that you may not know, that is 2 dogs, 2 canines were released on citizens in the North. In the past, I would have had to dig through that and figure out what was happened. Chief took the action that he deemed necessary. We not agree with that action, but when I've come before, it's been hid. I'd had to pull and do all kinds of my own investigative work and come down here and yell at you all. With this chief, I haven't had to do that. I want you to know, Mayor, he's working in a hostile environment. One of his lieutenant, one under him, have called him a fat boy and said he need to be removed, plus some deaf person need to be removed because they want to replace him with someone in the old gangster regime. I need you to think about that. This chief has changed the perception, at least in the north, which may not mean a lot, but it will gain us help going forward in solving some of the cases we've been unable to solve because historically we've been afraid, they have been afraid, not me, to talk to the police about some of the things that they know. We need Chief, if he will, to stay in place because the direction the police department going in at this juncture is good for you and good for the city. I read an article that said you might want to be governor. You don't want to be a governor of a city where K-9s in 2013 are released on, can I have one more minute?
Sure.
Released on citizen and nothing has happened to correct that. So if you can, use everything you can to keep, if he'll stay, to stay in place because at this juncture, this police department, as far as the north is concerned, I'm going to ask for some statistics to see some other things, but it's going in the right direction. So one time, you can write this down, I say thank you to the mayor and to the city council for that selection of a man who's been in the system and knows the system and is turning that big ship around. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And Dr. Johnson, let me say, we hear rumors all the time around here, and please don't put anything into rumors. There's also a good thing to be said. This morning I woke up in Montgomery. I had a meeting in Montgomery, and it's not a good thing, but it's a comparison. When you look at your city, you always compare against cities your size and everything. We have our crime level is way down below Birmingham, Montgomery, Mobile, and when you start looking at the numbers across the board, our police department is doing a great job, and I appreciate your thank yous there.
Thank you, Mayor Battle. We're next at item 8, Huntsville utility items, and Mr. Olshefski has informed the chair he is recusing himself and will abstain from any vote on this issue. Council members, there are many items. It looks like there's over 20 items, and what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, is I'd like for you to notify me of any items on the Huntsville utility items you'd like to hold for further discussion. Otherwise, we'll consolidate and approve the rest of them.
Mr. President, there are a couple items on there pertaining to the smart meter issue that we've had discussions about. I'd like to ask if those could be, some discussion. We could hold those over for discussion, but I'd like to ask if we could have, after we've had discussion, if we could postpone those to the next regular council meeting and give, Huntsville Utilities a chance to have a public meeting, where citizens can give comment.
And I have 8F marked. Are there other items you would like to hold?
I believe that's the only one that pertains to that.
Okay. So we're going to move consolidation approval of 8A through E, 8G through U. And the chair makes that motion.
Second.
Second by Dr. Showers. All those in favor of consolidation approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Ms. Yell, if you would briefly, for the citizens' interest, talk about the items that we just approved.
Yes, sir. We have 21 items for your approval tonight. The bulk of these items are our annual capital budget for the electric, gas, and water departments. It includes projects, the materials, labor to do the work that we have to do to keep the systems running. 3 of the items are closeouts from storm events previously. These take a while to be closed out because a lot of issues that take place with a storm event, and one is a item from TVA to adjust one of the programs that we're involved in. But for the capital projects, they include things like building of some of our, the beginning of building some new substations. We're going to get a new substation connection with TVA in the northern part of the system. This was something that we've been working on since the tornado event to help us with more reliability. There's also money in here for the engineering work to begin work on the new water treatment plant that we have been planning. We got to start to get all the engineering and work to get some of that in place so that we can retain the withdrawal permits from the TVA. Also, one of the large items we have is cast iron replacement program that we're speeding up on the natural gas side. Department of Transportation is putting pressure on natural gas utilities to try to get out as much of their cast iron pipe as they can because of reliability issues. So that is a brief summary of the items. It's approximately about $35 million worth of projects that are included in here.
Thank you, Mr. Yale. Councilmembers, 8F is a resolution authorizing the approval and purchase of metering equipment for fiscal year 2014. The chair moves for approval. Dr. Showers, Mr. Kling, I'd appreciate a second, then we'll postpone it, and that way we...
Okay, I will second for discussion purposes.
Second, Mr. Kling. Mr. Yale, could you describe this?
Well, this is one of our purchasing of meters that we need for our system. Included in there are some smart meters, but we still have to purchase the standard meters that we use on homes every day, the old style mechanical, some digital meters, and that is included in. Now we have some money in this for a project. Now the project is not really smart metering per se. We're going to use some of the technology. We have a program we're working with TVA where we're doing voltage reduction to try to help TVA in their high load times. What they want us to do is to make sure that on the ends of our lines we have identified 200 separate circuits that we need to monitor. They want to make sure that when voltage is lowered, that we do not cause problems for the customers on the tail end of a circuit. The only way to do that is use electronic metering to be able to record that voltage. So what we want to do is install some of what you call smart meters or automated meters so that we can see what the TVA is requiring us to have real-time data. That's the only way you can do it. This will also allow us to install some of the communications backbone that we're going to need when we eventually go to automated metering infrastructure. But these meters are going to be read just like a standard meter. Now, in the past, you could do voltage checks using a mechanical device with a piece of paper in there that recorded it. That technology is gone. That's old technology. You have to have the real-time data for TVA to agree that we are able to do this and not affect our customers. In the end, it helps TVA because that means they don't have to put on higher cost generation systems in high use times if the other utilities in the system can lower their voltage. There's approximately I believe about 15 systems that are going to run this test for TVA to make sure it works. Now the company that we're using is Census, and they have installed roughly about 4.5 million smart meters in the Southeast. They are the smart meter provider for the Southern Company, I know Alabama Power has completely rolled out a smart meter program. But the only way that we can do it is use these type meters. This is not the rollout of smart meters. It's just that's the only device right now that we can use to get this kind of data.
Thank you. Councilmembers, discussion or questions for Ms. Yale?
Mr. President, just because of this issue that's been out there, and I've heard from lots of people, even a few I think in the audience, I'd just like for the public to have a chance to have comment. Maybe Huntsville Utilities could set up a special public hearing down here, beginning of next week or before our next council meeting, and just give the public a chance to weigh in.
Mr. Kling, what are your specific questions that you have concerning? This is not smart meter rollout. This is using a device to record voltage that we need to know.
But it just seems like we've had things in the past where something just kind of gets their foot in the door, and then they're in, and next thing you know, they've taken over. I mean, we've had for somewhat similar, we've had budget issues where an agency comes and says, we just need appropriation one time this year. And then they get in, and then it comes in. It's just kind of like a streamlined effect.
Well-
I just like.
Well, at every public meeting, every speech that we give, we are discussing smart metering with our customers, people that come there. We're not hiding any information. This is something we've got to do. Our customers are going to hurt in the future if we don't have smart metering in place, because TVA is eventually going to make us go to time of use rates. And if you don't have it, your customers are going to be paying much higher bills. We're glad to talk to anybody about it. We've actually sent multiple letters to groups explaining where we are. Again, this particular program is not smart metering. We're using that technology. We're just using an electronic device that will send us real-time data so that our customers, so that we can monitor what our voltage levels are and that we're not hurting those customers by having low voltage. Now, also in this item are the meters that we need to use on a daily basis to replace any meter that is damaged or has failed. So that is included in this resolution item. It includes the smart meters that we're going to use in this project, but it also includes the normal meters that we use on a daily basis.
If there's a way to separate the normal meters from the smart meters, we could pass
Well,
that, or everything could come up.
Well, it's part of the resolution that we have to bring to you as a capital budget item.
I understand that. The council, has a meeting in 2 weeks, and we could certainly, take action at that time on this. But I just think, as far as the public's concerned, at least up front, they should know what it is before coming in after the door's been closed. We heard some concerns that were expressed.
Well, everywhere we're going to install one of these, we will be communicating with that individual customer to let them know that we're putting them on and that we're going to be using that. We got about 200 that we're going to have to install. But again, it's to make sure that the customer is not hurt by voltage reduction efforts.
Mr. President,
Dr. Showers.
item F has been held while Mr. Yale is still standing. I want to skip over to item P.
I'm sorry, Dr. Showers. We've got to work on item F right now. It's not being held. We're discussing
I want to make
it.
sure now that not only is item F held, I want item P that deals with the gas and the metering that's being purchased for that equipment. Now, if that's going to be included in the item to be held, I can make another motion to do that.
Okay, we've already passed P, but let's work on F.
I'm
And okay,
asking Mr. President to reconsider, and I voted on the affirmative side
okay.
of that item, but I want to withdraw it from consideration and to be held.
Yeah, Dr. Showers, we're gonna finish 8F, and then we'll get to your
As
item
long as we
AP.
go ahead and put the gas along with the water in this particular
Okay, so
item.
right now we're discussing 8F. Council members, Mr. Kling, I think you wanted to hold this. Will you make that motion?
Mr. President, I would make a motion to postpone to the next regular council meeting, pending Huntsville Utilities having some sort of a public hearing prior to that time.
Second.
All those in favor of postponing this 8F to the next regular council meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's been held. Now, Dr. Showers, 8P has already been passed, and your concern is that it is.
I want to make a motion to reconsider that passage to include not only the water metering equipment, but also the gas metering equipment. And if Mr. Yale wants to, I don't really need you to go back over your explanation of the smart metering. I agree with Mr. Kling. I just want to make sure that the general public will have some advanced knowledge and notice of what's to come in the future with these new metering devices. Mr. Attorney, what is the motion I need to make to pull that out of the approved item and to vote it tonight to postpone?
It would be a motion to reconsider approval of item 15P.
Mr. President?
Is that your motion to reconsider item 15P? Is there a second?
Second.
A motion to reconsider by Dr. Showers, a second by Mr. Kling. Discussion. Mr. Yell, could you explain this, please?
Well, in neither the natural gas metering, which is item 8P, or the water item metering, which is, I believe, 8U, neither one of these have smart metering in them. These are standard mechanical meters that we use every day on our system. They are not smart metering. Again, the other issue is we're using that technology to do voltage metering, and these other two are just standard everyday meters that we use on our system. As you can see, the amounts, 8U is $425 for water meters, and that includes everything from a domestic.
Mr. Yell, just talk about 8P, please.
Okay, 8P is natural gas meters, and again, that's everything from what is on the hanging off the house to an industrial meter for natural gas. These are not smart meter items.
Mr. President.
Dr. Showers.
Ms. Yale, on the gas, water, you're going to eventually go to smart metering with the water. Are
Yes,
you
we'll
saying to
have
us
to.
tonight that gas will not change from the procedure that you have in place tonight?
Well, not in this budget item. Eventually, we will have to go to that, but these items do not pertain to smart meter at all. These are standard mechanical meters.
Okay, if that be the case, then I'll just go ahead. If that he's saying tonight that we are to be assured that smart metering won't be a part of this particular utility gas item.
That's correct.
Okay.
So you're going to withdraw your motion, reconsider,
I will
Mr.
withdraw
Kling?
it.
Thank you. So 8P is passed. We're now at 9, board appointments. We have several board appointments to be voted on. 9A1 is a resolution to reappoint Dr. Gregory Smith, the Educational Building Authority of the City of Huntsville, A&M University, for a term to expire November 12, 2019.
Move to approve.
Motion by Dr. Showers, second by Mr. Kling. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. We have a resolution to reappoint Collins Alexander to the Educational Building Authority of the City of Huntsville, Oakwood University, for a term to expire November 12, 2019.
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Showers, second by Mr. Kling. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. 3 is a resolution to reappoint James H. Richardson to the Educational Building Authority of the City of Huntsville Randolph School for a term to expire November 12, 2019.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Showers, second by Mr. Kling. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. 4 is a resolution to appoint Lavoy Smart to the Educational Building Authority of the City of Huntsville, APT, for a term to expire November 13, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kling, second by Dr. Showers. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. 5 is a resolution to reappoint William Sammons to the Huntsville Ice Skating Complex Board of Control for a term to expire November 20th, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kling, second by Dr. Showers. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? It carries. We have several board appointment nominations. We have a nomination of James C. Tony Smith for reappointment to the Huntsville Tennis Center Board of Control, place number 1, for a term to expire November 28, 2016. This was made by Dr. Showers. We have a nomination of Scott Harriman for reappointment to the Huntsville Tennis Center Board of Control for a term to expire November 28, 2016, made by the chair. We have a nomination of Robert Burden for reappointment to the Educational Building Authority of the City of Huntsville Madison Academy for a term to expire November 12, 2019, made by the chair. Are there any other nominations?
Mr. President, I'd move for
Mr. Kling, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Could you use your microphone if you don't?
It shrunk. Okay. Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Mike Maples, reappointment, UAH Education Building Authority.
We have a nomination of Mike Maples to the UAH Educational Building Authority. Are there any other nominations? Now at 10, approval of expenditures. 10A is the resolution authorizing expenditures for payment. Mr. Kling.
Mr. President, move for payment of vouchers in the amount of $10,255,878.30.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Kling, second by Dr. Showers. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Mr. Kling, do you have a Finance Committee report?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to turn the floor over to Randy Taylor, Finance Director.
Thank you, Mr. Kling. Council members and Mayor, I did want to give you a brief update on our debt borrowing process. We've reported on that twice now, and so I want to let you know where we are in the process. The first and most important thing is last Friday, Moody's Investor Service issued their rating of the city's upcoming debt issue, which they again issued a AAA rating by Moody's. That's the fourth or fifth time that we've received that rating from one of the rating agencies. We do expect the other rating that we typically ask for, that would be Standard & Poor's. We expect to receive that early next week, and you'll certainly know about it at the time. So that's continued confidence in the city's finances, of course, the Huntsville community and its economic strength, and how the city manages its finances. So Mayor Battle and the council members get the credit for those policies. With regards to the debt plan specifically, we think that we will be in the marketplace trying to sell our debt. Our underwriters will be doing that on our behalf within 2 weeks, which means it could occur before the November 7th council meeting. The timing is not clear at the moment. But we have on the agenda tonight a resolution for you to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with the underwriters so that when the prices are received and the city thinks that's the deal that's in our best interest, then the mayor can approve that. The council, of course, has to ratify it and approve it formally at the next council meeting, but the underwriters need that kind of approval by the mayor. So you've typically done this every time we've had a negotiated debt sale. So we've given you some communications about the underwriting team. We'll be using the same people that we've had in place for several years. That's 4 firms now because 2 have been consolidated. So we will plan to go forward with them, and we'll keep you apprised of more details as we know them. So look for the Standard & Poor's rating news early next week. I'll be glad to answer any questions if there are any.
Are there any questions for Ms. Taylor? Congratulations to you and your finance team for a AAA rating. It's quite impressive.
Thank you.
Mayor Battle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, I would like to congratulate not only Mr. Taylor, but all the department heads out there for the job that they've done to help us keep a AAA rating. That is I think one of 26 municipalities across the U.S. who have kept that. And it's not a small part that the council plays in that, because the council every day makes decisions on how we spend our money to make sure our revenues equal our expenditures, and also that we don't put out unfunded liabilities which last 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. Many, many communities have gotten in trouble by passing different legislation that has had dire consequences 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, and this council has always looked ahead into the future and said, what's going to be the bottom line effect of this as we make our spending policies? And I want to say thank you to the council, because you're the ones who have put us in position to get the AAA ratings. To the department heads, you're the ones who have to make those budgets work on a day in and day out basis, and I want to say thank you to you too. You're the team who have made it happen. I would also like to introduce an item tonight that Randy Taylor gave to us, and there should be a copy with you. It has to do with credit cards and being able to use the credit cards in city purchases, and how we're going to do the processing of the credit cards. We're introducing it tonight to be voted on next week. November 7th at the next council meeting. So just know that that's in place. And lastly, I'd like to ask Mr. Reynolds to come step out again, kind of like Ms. Reed did. I think if I got it right, smart, energetic, and good looking. Is that right, Ms. Reed? I'll take 2 out of 3 for him. But I would like to say this is Rex's last council meeting, and Rex has been he's been a mentor to me. We walked into that office at the same time in the mayor's office 5 years ago, and both of us pretty new at it. I remember that first day we didn't have lunch, and we finally had to steal a sandwich from some of the girls who were working in the office. And from there, it's been a great partnership. He's been a great partner. He has been the part of what's made this city work. He has been one of the foundations that's made this city work, and he's been doing it for how many years? 35 years? 34 years, and that is something that we can all be proud of. He has been an asset to the city. He started off as a line cop, and he's never lost the cop part of it. But his talent is really in administration, and he is probably one of the best administrators I've ever seen. And he's leaving big shoes. John Hamilton is stepping right in and filling those big shoes. So we are very, very fortunate in the city of Huntsville to have people of his like Rex, who have come in and worked for this city for 34 years and made this city what it is today. There will be a reception honoring Rex on October 31st in the Roundhouse between 1 to 4. I encourage everybody to come out. I hope he's very tired after that day, because we'll make him stand up the whole time and let everybody give him well wishes. He's going to go off, and he's going to make a lot more money than he made at the city. He's going to he'll achieve a lot, but he's left a foundation here that has really turned this city into a place that can get AAA ratings, a place that can respond to citizens, and a place that I think we're all proud of. So, Rex, thank you for 34 great years.
Mr. President, can I steal a minute? Well, while y'all really trying to embarrass me, I'll say this. You're only as good as those around you, and I'm a better person to have served with each of you since 2008 at this capacity, and with all these great department heads behind me. They are an amazing group of the citizens. I only knew what they do day in and day out to serve you, and also serving alongside everybody throughout the city's workforce. They're just awesome people, and I've just been very fortunate and privileged to do that. So thank you, each of you. And I'm going home.
Thank you, Mayor Battle. Dr. Showers?
Thank you, Mr. President. Certainly, Rex is going home, he says, and so he's going to miss what I'm going to say about him. But some of you know that a few years ago, he and I was in class 19, the Huntsville-Madison County Leadership Program, and Rex has made all of us that were members of that class very proud of Rex Reynolds and many others who have made contributions from that class. I am saddened tonight that I have to say what I'm going to have to say here in this city of Huntsville, this rocket city. Last Thursday night, we were here at a meeting, but there were a meeting across town at the Board of Education where people was treated in ways that was appalling. Those of you who watched the replay of the council meetings and the school board meetings saw how public citizens, tax-paying citizens, was treated by the Board of Education. The arrogant display that was imparted to those persons who came to be heard and to support the school district was denied, talked down as if they were just animals. It was just sad. And I had my glasses on watching the replay, and I couldn't believe this was happening in this city, that a group could do citizens the way they were done last Thursday night. I want to commend the Johnson High School Alumni Association that is here out of concern for the legacy of Johnson High School. Now, the mayor made some good statements about quality education. All of us want all our schools to be quality, to have equal curriculums. but we also want to be treated equally. This city cannot be the city that it's supposed to be with a double standard. It's all right for Grissom High School to be relocated without having to change its name, without having to drop its legacy. In fact, a board member said emphatically that Grissom would never change its name. And yet, when it comes to the North, you got tax-paying citizens, you got men, women, boys, and girls, parents who want the same quality out of Johnson High School that we have across the city at any other high school. But we've been treated differently because we've been asked to receive a recommendation from a committee that was not representative, handpicked to the superintendent. And yet, all of us who serve at the pleasure of you all, y'all allow us to serve to represent your voice, your concern, your positions. I've had town meetings all over this city so that the citizens that I represent, the city of Huntsville, know what's going on. Yet in this case, that did not happen. And so we're not being consistent. When you say one school's going to be rebuilt, and I'm happy for Grissom. My daughter teaches down in the South at one of the schools, and I've already had one grandson to graduate from Grissom. And I'm very proud of the academics that he got from Grissom High School. Got another one going to go there, going there right now, freshman, because his mother teaches down at Weatherly. And so I support Grissom, I support Butler, I support Lee, and certainly I support Johnson High School. But the citizens that I represent are all wanting to have the same ability to keep its legacy as any other school in this town. And tonight that is not happening. I submit to you that this committee is going to continue to bring attention to the superintendent of the school board and to this city that is dissatisfied with how it has been treated. To be treated less than a dog. To have. So I'm only saying tonight, it is not over. If we have to go to Washington, to the Department of Justice, to recall the action it has already done. And some of you are saying, well, you can't do that. Watch us. We shouldn't have to go back to the 50s and to the 60s to March. This is supposed to be Huntsville. We shouldn't have to do this in this town. But we're having to do that tonight because we are saying our voices are not being heard. And so I had a town meeting the other night. A very historical citizen who resided in this city for many years. Father was a preacher. He's a preacher, but he's a civil rights activist who has made civil rights contributions all over this nation. Yes, I sent out letters to all the citizens who are impacted by a proposed new naming. Some of them came to the town meeting, voiced their concerns, and that's the city policy that we go by. We don't do anything in an untransparent way. We let citizens know and participate in democracy. And so I want to thank those who showed up the Tuesday night at the Church Street Cumberland Presbyterian Church. I want to thank its pastor, the Reverend Mitchell Walker, who allowed us to meet there in his edifices. But more than that, I want to thank the citizens who came out in support of the Reverend Dr. Joseph E. Lowry, a beacon in this country was awarded the highest award that a president can award to a civilian citizen. The award of freedom was bestowed upon him. A man 92 years old and still going strong. And certainly my prayers go out to his family. This summer he lost his wife, and yet he is a pioneer in our lifetime. I certainly want to close with this. I attended 2 functions on behalf of the mayor and the city council. In town last week, we had the Omega Phi Psi fraternity in town. They had their state meeting. I represented the mayor and the council at that meeting. Operation Stand Down, John, was at the True Life Church of God in Christ Church over last weekend. That was all about honoring our veterans, men and women who gave their lives that we might enjoy this quality of life that we now enjoy. A well-worthy program. On yesterday, Councilman John and Councilman Bill and I attended the Exchange Club honoring at a banquet yesterday our accoladed firemen. They were honored with an award, and we was there in support. And we want to thank our Exchange Club of the city of Huntsville, but more than that, the firemen who give their life to make sure that when we lay down at night, that we are in good hands. And finally, I don't know how many Bulldogs are in this audience tonight besides me, but this weekend in Birmingham, we're having our annual Magic City Classic. Those of you who follow athletics know that we've not won a lot of games, but this game is different. Regardless to the record that Alabama State has or the record that A&M has, it's going to be a great game. Those of you who will go down tomorrow, several banquets, luncheons. Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, the annual parade downtown, and following the parade at 2:30. The kickoff of the annual Magic City Classic between Alabama A&M University and Alabama State. Let me say to those that are going down tonight, tomorrow, Saturday morning, be safe, be careful, and look to see you all there. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Showers. Mr. Olshefski.
It's Mr. Randy Taylor out there. Randy, I read an article on AL.com this morning about which Alabama cities ran deficits in 2012. Of course, as I was reading it, I'm going, I can't believe it, because you would tell me if I was running a deficit or I'd be figuring it out. So before I got a chance to even call you, I said, well, I don't need to call you because I can ask you tonight. Can you give me a rundown on the story and I'm assuming a lot of it's false, so I'd be interested in hearing your 2 cents worth on it.
I'll be glad to respond to it, Councilman. Mayor, did you want to, because we have been talking about this today, did you want to comment on that, or go ahead?
You did a very good job in your letter to the editor. If you want to kind of explain, I would love for you to do that.
Okay. It is a little bit hard to explain in a brief setting like this, but the purpose of the article, which the article describes, is to compare local governments to the much of the discussion about federal governments these days. The federal government, the deficit, namely the government shutdown, and all of that. So again, the premise was to compare how local governments fare to that. And the story did, as you said, Councilman, indicate that several cities, 7 in this case in Alabama, ran deficits. Deficit means that you spend more than you collect. That's the government finance term for that, and that's what we understand, especially when we're talking about the federal government. There's other ways to measure government financial activity, And the city's financial reports, unfortunately, because it confuses the public, has different kinds of reports that tell different stories, if you will. And so if we want to talk about the city's deficits in the context of how does that compare to the federal deficit, or the city's experience, I should say, then there's a certain set of reports that one should use to do that. How much did we collect? How much did we spend? Was that positive or negative? Did we spend more revenue than we collected? So sometimes people use another report in our financial statements to make a different kind of assessment. So our opinion is, right now, is that the story used data from the city's financial reports that does not compare to the comparison they were trying to make. It does not equate to what federal deficit means and how should that be compared at the local level. So it was apples and oranges comparison. The city, in fact, using the more traditional statements that most people understand in this kind of discussion, the city actually had a $47 million surplus, not a $30 million deficit, or $30 million negative number. It's not correct to call it a deficit. So that does sound confusing, and it is, but in the more traditional sense, when we speak of the federal deficit and how those numbers were arrived at, there would be a particular report in the city's financial statements that one could make the same kind of assessment. And in that case, we actually had a surplus. That very large surplus is misleading because we borrowed money that year to build roads and schools, and we will spend that over the next several years. But in terms of the operations of the city had a surplus last year of $500,000, and the city never borrows money, and this is a key point. Unlike the federal government, the city does not ever borrow money, Huntsville, to finance its regular operations. We pay our salaries, we pay the operating costs of the cities out of the tax revenues and other revenues of the city. And so we have never financed that. Not a dollar of city debt is associated with the operating activities of the city. And so that's an important distinction, and that was not made clear in that article. So, and we hope that that will become more clear in the days ahead.
Thank you very much. The second thing I'd like to ask about, and I guess want to get it on record, and then John and I kind of had a discussion on this at the fireman ceremony banquet the other day. You know, I made a long run of 18 months to get one of our restaurants the ability to have music in its restaurant. And during that whole process, we did a lot of great things, and I'm not debating what we did. But I still struggle a little bit for trying to help small businessmen. And as I've now got even more in detail into it, I'm learning that for a small business like that, they still have to spend $500 a year for its license. They still have to send out, and I wasn't aware of that much, but shame on me for not knowing that. But I was aware of you had to send out certified letters to everybody that lived within a certain area, and at $3, $4 at whatever certified letter goes. So if you got to send it out to 100, you're looking at $300 or $400. So now you're into $900 just for the opportunity to have music that we can't play outside the doors, or you're against the city ordinance. I say all that to say that I still think we're spending. I still don't think we're helping the small businessman. I mean, it just kind of irks me. And oh, by the way, before I forget, I gotta get this cleaned up a little bit too. And and John, we said we'd kind of work on this one together. I'd like to look at this list of the residents, because a good 10 to 12 of that was sent out to the residents came back returned. So that was another waste of $3 to $4 of, and the list didn't seem as accurate as it should be. And I don't know how you can make it accurate or should be or not. The bottom line is we're spending money when we're trying to make money and gain sales revenue and do all that. And I'd be interested in if John and I working on that, because I just think that something's wrong. And then last but not least, is Randy Cunningham here tonight? I don't need him to come to the counter if he's not here. Okay. I don't need him to. I just want to see him before we go home tonight. If you would mind just staying a couple minutes instead of running out when we get to that one piece, just spend a couple minutes with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kling?
Thank you, Mr. President. Is Shane Davis here? Or do we know if he's here? Okay. Hi, Shane. Shane, as you know, over the last several weeks, I've had some concerns about the proposed Walmart and the impact it would have on the Midtown neighborhoods that are located right behind it. And I wanted to ask that if the Walmart construction goes underway, one of the concerns I had, I think I'd mentioned to you, had to do with the cuts in the acceleration and deceleration lanes that were part of the proposal. If those go in, if there is a Walmart constructed, if those do go in, is Walmart going to be paying for those? Or the
Councilman
city?
Kling, yes, both public or private improvements concerning the development will be paid by the developer or Walmart. I think as most is aware, the study that come back from Dr. Anderson that City Pay For did confirm the study as submitted by Skipper Consulting by Walmart. There were no contradictions within both studies and voted that recommend we should accept the study. And as a matter of fact, Walmart did pull a permit yesterday.
Okay. If you know, the project goes underway, a couple of things I'd like to ask you, we get into the construction process. If you, I guess working with natural resources, could be very vigilant as far as construction not starting earlier than it's supposed to or staying on at night so that what we have on the books is being followed. Also, lighting, I think, is a very significant issue because of directional lighting impacting the neighborhood is not a good thing, and I think natural resources had guidelines that can deal with that.
Due to everything that's happened for this development, it will be a very much monitored construction site.
Okay, because obviously there are concerns. I would hope that once you know, we get further along on this process, that they may see that the overhead cost of having that building open 24 hours a day might be a little bit prohibitive, and that maybe they'd be more cost effective if they were operating on more normal hours like other Walmarts do. And I just wish you'd pass that over to them on that.
And we have done that, Councilman Kling, as far as hours of operation. It will open as a 24/7 center like most, but Walmart has said, like all centers, dependent on its activity, they will adjust hours. You know,
well,
it's all
I
about
hope
profit
that you
margin.
would stay in touch with them. And also another concern, as I mentioned to you, I still don't see how a big truck, 18-wheeler, could make a right-hand turn on Drake Avenue, turning south onto L&N. And I think L&N is an issue that might need to be looked at as far as the truck ordinance. I know we have other businesses there. If trucks could they either be limited by the hours so that we don't have trucks, you know, disturbing the neighborhood at, you know, middle of the night? Could there be a limitation, you know, 9 o'clock to 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning? Trucks would not be allowed in that area, on that road?
It is something we're going to monitor. As I previously stated, the neighborhood, as far as limiting no truck traffic to L&N, is not a possibility due to the existing businesses along L&N that are getting truck deliveries. There's a private school, there's a couple of restaurants that are getting deliveries, and if we restricted that, it would apply to all businesses. We're going to monitor the routes, and also Walmart has said that they modify those if we find it to be a problem.
Okay, maybe hours could be something that could be addressed, because I'm not sure there are really that many deliveries that would be taking place, you know, in the middle of the night on any of those businesses.
Yeah, no, I think we'll just monitor it. I don't think anybody's anticipating, you know, midnight deliveries, even Walmart. So we'll keep a check on it once it opens and report back to you.
Okay, well, I still share the concerns of the neighborhood, and you know, I've looked at the plans, but it still looks like you're putting too big of a structure on too small of a piece of property, and you know, the impact on the neighborhood I'm still very, very concerned about.
We'll keep you posted. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. President, that's all I have, except I guess I'd like to join with others and wishing Rex Reynolds a, very best for the future, and Godspeed.
Thank you, Mr. Kling. I'd like to quickly promote two events that are going on at the Von Braun Center this weekend. We're going to have the regional volleyball tournament, high school regional volleyball tournament, super regional volleyball tournament at the VBC Friday and all day Saturday. I know we have many local teams participating. Off the top of my head, we have Huntsville High, Grissom, Randolph, Pope John Paul II are going to be there. I believe it's 96 teams field from Class 1A through 6A. And you should see those students around our restaurants and hotels this weekend, so please welcome them. We also have UAH hockey. For years, we've been trying to get UAH back into a conference. They're in a conference, and they're playing Friday night and Saturday night. So if you would like to go watch some good hockey, please go down to the Von Braun Civic Center. I hope to be there Saturday night to root the Chargers on. We're now at 13, unfinished business items for action. 13A is ordinance number 13-79-1 to amend ordinance number 8979 classification and salary plan. This was introduced October 10th, 2013 at the regular council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kling, second by Dr. Showers. And council members, the item that we're discussing is substitute A version. Is Mr. Thomas here? Mr. Thomas, if you could please explain this and make sure we understand substitute A.
This is an ordinance to amend our classification plan based upon some audits that were conducted by Human Resources in the various departments. We had to make a modification to one of the positions based upon some additional information when we did the audits. I made a correction to that.
Okay, thank you. Discussion or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. B is ordinance number 1379-2 to amend budget ordinance number 13630 to modify the authorized strength of various departments. This was introduced October 10th, 2013 at the regular council meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Shower, second by Mr. Kling. This also has a substitute A. Please explain.
Same thing. We had to make the same correction on the budget amendment as well.
Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. We have two items for introduction only. 14A is introduction of an ordinance to amend section 1615 of the Code of Ordinances establishing a pre-child diversion program. B is an introduction of an ordinance amending Chapter 3, Article 2, Section 327 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Huntsville Arts and Entertainment District. Is Ms. Bostic here or Ms. Leto? Ms. Bostic, could you just please explain the changes you're recommending for the Arts and Entertainment District?
Yes, sir. As you may recall, in the original ordinance, we stated in there that we'd come back after a 90-day period to review how it had been going, basically, and whether any changes were warranted. So we have done that, actually did a few surveys, and I'll show you a little of that information at the next council meeting. And we'll be proposing 3 changes to the boundary, 3 additional parcels into the boundary. Also, we'll be recommending additional hours and additional days. Currently, it's Thursday and Friday only from 5 till 10. This would make it Thursday from 5 till 11, and Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from noon until 11.
Thank you. Councilmembers, any questions from Ms. Bostic? We're now at 15, new business items for consideration or action. Keep in mind 15CC has been deleted. Please notify the chair of any items you'd like to hold. The chair holds 15Y, 15Z, and 15AA. Are there any other items you'd like to hold? 15A is a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to invoke Regions Bank letter credit number L053466 for Bellwood Park subdivision. B is a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to invoke Bancorp South Bank letter credit number 367000581608 for Little Mountain Phase 2 subdivision. C is a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to invoke Bancorp South Bank letter credit numbers 362000515942 for Magnolia Village at Lake Forest subdivision. D is a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to invoke Bancorp South Bank letter credit number 362000702382 for Stonegate Phase 2 subdivision. E is a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to invoke CB&S Bank letter credit number 555579 for Ansley Farm subdivision. F is a resolution authorizing a 5-year extension of a sublease agreement between the City of Huntsville and Crown Castle GT Company, LLC, concerning the communications tower at the Metro Sportsplex. G is a resolution authorizing the mayor to amend the contract with Reed Contract Service, Inc. for Rogers Drive Drainage Improvements, project number 6513 DM17 by change order number 1. H is a resolution authorizing the mayor to an agreement with Garver LLC for engineering, construction, and administration services for 2013 water pollution control sanitary sewer rehabilitation, project number 6513 SP42. I is a resolution authorizing the mayor to a cost reimbursement agreement with Northeast Alabama Traffic Safety Office in the amount of $75,000 for traffic enforcement. J is a resolution authorizing the mayor in a lease agreement with Venti Properties LLC for office space at 107 Jefferson Street, Suite 1, 1A, and 2. K is a resolution authorizing the mayor in a lease agreement with Venti Properties LLC for office space at 107 Jefferson Suite, Suite 19. L is an ordinance declaring certain equipment as surplus and be sold at auction. M is an ordinance to amend budget order number 12768 by changing appropriating funding within various departments and funds. N is a resolution authorizing acceptance of donations. O is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a purchase contract with the city's underwriters in connection with the sale of general obligation warrant series 2013C and series 2013D in amount not to exceed $110 million, subject to ratification and approval by the city council prior to issuance of the warrants. P is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute agreement for electronic payment processing services. Q is a resolution authorizing the mayor in agreement with the low bidders meeting specification outline attached summary of bids for acceptance. R is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute agreement with for the collection of taxes. S is a resolution authorizing the mayor in agreement between the City of Huntsville, Alabama, and Sally K. Davis. T is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute modification number 1 to the agreement with Crisis Service of North Alabama, Inc. for services to the homeless domestic violence population. U is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to the agreement with Alabama Department of Economic and Community Affairs. V is a resolution to renew the agreement with J. Smith Lanier Company of Huntsville to provide general liability insurance on 500 Church Street parking lot. W is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter a license agreement between the City of Huntsville and the Museum Board of the City of Huntsville. X is a resolution authorizing a consulting agreement between the City of Huntsville and the Scrimpture Company, Inc. Double B is a resolution to award CASA with the fiscal year 2013 CDBG funds for home weatherization and installation of grab bars for low-income seniors and disabled individuals and families. The chair moves for consolidation approval of 8A through X, 8 double B.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kling. All those in favor of consolidation approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. 15Y is a resolution authorizing the mayor in a special employment agreement with the City of Huntsville and Brenda M. Martin.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Dr. Showers. Is there a second?
I will second for discussion purposes.
Mr. Kling has seconded. Discussion, please.
Mr. President,
Mr. Kling.
I have very high regard for this employee, and I had a chance to see her, I guess, doing one of the talk shows that she was hosting over the weekend. And I guess I just have a concern on one thing. If we could make a modification in this agreement, I could support it. Under the bullets listed, there's representing the mayor at civic associations, committees, social, business, schools, and other professional group meetings not requiring his official presence, and reporting weekly recommendations reached at those meetings. I would see that as being part of the responsibilities that Kenny Anderson, has in his capacity. And if we could drop this bullet out of the agreement, I could support it.
That's, and Ms. Kling, that's fine with the administration. The whole intent is to have her work on the TV channel because we have 24 hours of programming to be done and can help be more transparency and let people know more about what we do as a city.
Okay. Do we need a formal amendment, or can that just be?
We can make sure that's done.
Mr. Kling, if you'll just move to strike that portion, and if there's a second and a vote, then the clerk treasurer can manually strike it from the agreement.
Okay, I would so move, Mr. President, to strike the last bullet beginning with the words representing the mayor at civic associations and so on.
Is there a second to Mr. Kling's motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, we're discussing removing that language from the contract. Does anyone else want to weigh in on this? Okay, now we're just, Dr. Showers.
You about the public or the
No,
council?
this is the council members. This is the amendment.
Yes, it. I don't need you to do that. The historicalness of the position that this individual has held in the past, and the opportunity to represent the administration certainly it's not the best use of this individual. This individual has been an asset to this city in terms of times that administration could not be in places and representing us, even the council, in areas where there weren't people to do that from administrations. And I would just hate to lose that benefit by taking that part of this out of this mix here. It's a plus for our city to have as many employees who have the ability to welcome, to greet, to attend on behalf of others, to do just the thing that she's got in this description that she should do. I would like to see her, if she's coming back, to continue to have the ability when there's a need. Remember now, when she was in the other position, she only did that in the event that there was a need. You know, she wasn't taking anybody's position. She won't be taking anybody's position here, but she will be serving at the pleasure of representatives that are not able to make the rounds in the social arena that covers a whole bunch of things that they need to bring greetings, to do welcomes, to make presentations on behalf of the city. And the more that we can get to do that, I think the better that we should. So I would be opposed to deleting that from Brenda Martin's description that she cannot represent the mayor.
Mr. Kling.
Mr. President, and again, I'm trying to focus more on the position. Ms. Martin did that in her capacity when she was, I guess, basically the Director of Multicultural Affairs in the mayor's office. And since she's given up that position, and Mr. Anderson is now the Director of Multicultural Affairs, then I would see that that would be part of his responsibilities. And I guess according to this, I know this is a part-time position, it would focus more on you know, the programming for the government access channel that we have. Public affairs, interviews with city department heads, excuse me, the Director of the Arts Council this past weekend, those types of things. I guess I just see the position being more of that. And it is, since it is a part-time position.
And Dr. Showers, we're fine with that amendment because, you know, the whole intent is to have her do programming and to work as a programming agent for the city and to make sure that people can understand what the functions are that we do as a city and do it on our TV channel that we have for the public.
Further discussion on just the amendment only. Calling for a vote on Mr. Kling's amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
So it passes, the amendment passes 3-1. Now we're discussing the main motion. Council members, I've been against this from the start and will remain against it. So I don't know who's counting votes, but I'm a no vote on this. I've talked to the mayor and Ms. Martin about this. I think it's an additional cost to them, administrative level that we don't need at this time. And so I will be voting against it. So council members, if you want to vote tonight or delay it, that's up to whoever's driving this issue.
President,
Dr. Showers.
we have a council person that is not with us tonight, and I'm gonna move that we postpone this until we have 5 council members here.
Can we just postpone it to the next regular council
That'll
meeting?
work.
Okay. And the chair will second that. We have a motion by Dr. Showers, second by the chair to postpone this issue to the next regular council meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's been postponed.
Mr. President,
Mr. Kling.
I guess just for clarification, it's postponed, but it's postponed in the form with the amendment that was made by the council for the deletion. Is that correct?
The amendment failed, so now it's postponed in the way it was originally written.
No, I thought.
I'm sorry. The amendment passed, so it's postponed as amended.
Okay,
I apologize.
Okay, that's why I wanted to make
Okay.
sure it was understood.
Z is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute modification number 2 to the special employee agreement between the city of Huntsville and John S. Hamilton. The chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kling. Mayor Battle, could we get explanation of this, please?
Sure. We have a special contract with John Hamilton. The contract really goes through, I think, first of the year. Because Mr. Reynolds is leaving on November 1st, we want to end that contract. And then the next item, which is AA, is the appointment of John Hamilton to the position of city administrator effective November 1st, 2013. Just keeps you from having an overlap of a contract and a city employment.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Mr. President, I've read a couple of emails that was returned. Now, Mr. Reynolds is on the city payroll until what date?
November 1st. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, then I'm getting returns. When I emailed his address, email is coming back to say that that particular address is not current.
Sure. And Dr. Showers, he is taking leave time between now, and he has been taking leave time last week. He was back in today, but he was taking leave time. He had some days that, as city policy is, he had to burn or lose, and so he did burn some time during that. And then he has started transferring all of his email back so that everybody understands to contact Mr. Hamilton.
Okay, that should have been communicated. Maybe these other people knew. This was my first hearing of this.
Yes.
Plus, I had a problem with knowing that he's on the payroll until November 1, and yet he is not responding to the email. And if I had known this, then I would have had no reason, to ask this if that had been communicated
Sure.
To the rest of the council.
We will get you all the other email addresses too, so that you've got it. I think you've got everything for Colonel Hamilton and myself, I think.
Further discussion, item 15Z. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Double A is a resolution authorizing the appointment of John S. Hamilton, the position of city administrator, effective November 1st, 2013. The chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Dr. Showers. Discussion.
You just ended his contract, and now we're asking you to put him on as a payroll. We fired him, and we're hiring him real quick.
Well, technically, he's unemployed, but let's get him lined up real quickly because he's seen what goes on. He may want to run out of here.
But now he's not officially employed until November 1st if this passed.
That's correct.
Right. The modification ended as of November 1st. The modification to the contract ends November, or they work in conjunction with each other. Yes, sir.
Okay,
One ends on November 1st. One picks up on November 1st.
Won't be officially the city administrator until November 1st.
Right. Yes, sir.
Further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Welcome aboard. (16) Legal department items, transactions. 16A is vacations easement. 1 and 2. The chair moves consolidation approval.
Second.
Second by Dr. Showers. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. We're now at 17, non-roster communications from the public. Ms. Reed.
I'll make it quick. I want to welcome Mr. Hamilton. I'm sure I'll be noisy, but I'm on your team. Just remember that. Walmart, we spent $7,000, and the good old boy system kicked in again. It didn't work. We've spent $7,000. When I tried to get the city to do their own traffic study, but it said it cost too much. But anyway, let's forget Walmart. let it go. It's over. Did the school, of the $110 million tonight, are we borrowing tonight $110 million of this right here? $110 million. How much of it's going to the school board? $85 million? Or are we borrowing all of it for the city? Got me confused.
There you go ahead.
70 to 80 million is, I think the number was 80 million for the schools, and that was their part. If you remember, they are doing $200 million worth of school improvements and school rebuilding. This is part of that money. They're also getting the money from the BRAC relocation money, and they also had some money left over from the first borrowing that they had, and that all equals up to the $200 million.
So all of this tonight was for the school?
No, 80 million of it for schools. The other portion was for our capital expenses. Yes,
For the
ma'am.
city of Huntsville?
Yes, ma'am.
Will we know what those capital expenses are going to be for?
They're in your capital plan that you can see online. If you go to City of Huntsville and go to budgets, you can look in the capital plan, 10-year capital plan, and it shows you exactly what those
I'm not
monies are
online,
spent
sir.
for. Pardon?
I'm not online.
We'll get you a hard copy.
If you're going to build a walkway or an overpass over here on Church Street, take it out of your capital plan. I don't know what that's going to cost, but if you got it in there, people are already fussing about it. You're going to build something from one part of the park to the other, build a big road for the ducks to wobble under all the time. I mean, you know, that's Loretta Spencer deal right there, and we're still following her suggestions. Get over it. Let's move into something new and think for ourselves. I want to thank Bill Kling for his chicken meeting the other night I attended, but it was the urban agriculture and his town meeting, and it turned out real good. I appreciate him letting me say a few words. My sewer bill this month was $17 for the sewer. Golly, did y'all up our bills that much? I want the public to watch your utility sewer bills because I was told they've hired a new contractor. So, you got to keep an eye on the Huntsville utilities. All those items you passed tonight makes me wonder. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Does anyone else from the public wish to address the council? Mr. Hill?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. I feel that we must recognize that from the futile stage of being a toddler until the old age of being an adult, the human being learns from what we see. And we copy what we see and we repeat what we hear. And if we in society, for instance, do not create jobs or have activities for younger people to do, we will see an increase in our crime rates. We will see an increase in robberies and violence because they do not have anything to occupy their minds. As well, if we look in the school system, and if we do not create a curriculum or an educational atmosphere that is more appealing to the things that they receive from getting on the internet or watching TV or listening to the music, we cannot expect them to excel on the levels that we would want them to in the school system. As well, if we have leaders who are listeners but not the best listeners, we cannot expect there to be a true effort of transparency between both parties of our elected officials and the constituents. Now, if we continue to enforce something that is ideological upon the citizens, we cannot expect the citizens to stand without any repercussions or retaliation. We must only expect that the citizens are then feeling that our concerns do not matter. I would like to propose that the mayor, the city councilman, Mr. John Hamilton, Mr. Kenny Anderson, members of this alumni association, and any others that are willing to sit from the city, get together to create a board that deals with community relations. We need to test. You said that the school system is using a STAR assessment to ensure that kids are progressing. What are we doing to test post-studies? What are we doing to see if that really helped them as they go into college? Because we look at an increase in our dropout rates year after year, even as these STAR assessments have been implemented for the past 3 years. We also must understand that we got to secure the homeland. Majority of our problems are because we look at a home where the father and the mother are not there. So because of these situations, they bring these things from the community and take them to the school. However, we can invest in programs. We can utilize our resources to teach these people, teach these parents how to deal with these situations so that they do not become excuses that handicap us from being regular citizens that can abide with each other instead of us trying to make ways and always seeing that we're fighting one another instead of coming up with solutions. I also believe that it's imperative that we prepare our youth to lead. Right now, youth are not really in attendance for functions like these, very distant when it comes to faith-based things as well, not really even sure of what they want to do with their next level of life. How can we expect at the time when each of you up here are unable to continue your job, when I'm unable to get up and speak, when anybody else is unable to do what they need to do, that next group of people to take charge? If we are having to depend on the youth that are in the world today, we are in a bad state of mind and a bad predicament for the future. And I believe that as we go forth.
Sir, your time's up.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the council? Pastor?
It's T.C. Johnson, 1800 Sparkman. I wanted to just go back to a subject. Mayor, my rumors are normally, as the record shows, not rumors at all. So I do a lot of work, so I don't come down and look crazy. That part. So please take me serious. It's upsetting to the police department right now thinking that they have someone in high position jockeying for the chief's job while he's still in office, and that's a hostile environment to work in, and it shouldn't happen because you appointed him. I believe it because you trust him, and he needs to know that you, if nobody else, backs him, and if you want to go, that's one thing, but he should never be forced out. Please take that seriously. Second thing is, let's be cautious. There's a lot of mean things came up during the shutdown about the deficit and blaming it on one person, and of course in my community we know that's not true. Huntsville has to be very careful because when we start paying the debt, federal dollars gonna dry up. And what will happen if Redstone Arsenal close? What will happen when contracts go away to our city? And some of the people who be in mean spirit, we gotta pay our debts, but we gotta work together to do them. And so our city, I don't think, can afford to be one of the agitators screaming bloody murder, this, let's pay our debts at all costs, because we are a welfare city. If federal dollars pay welfare, if federal dollars were not in this city, where would Huntsville be? So our attitude and our behavior should be very cautious. Sure, we must pay our debt, but Huntsville has to get into solution problem and not name-calling problem. It has to be done, we know it. But we'll shoot ourselves in the foot if we're not careful with how we as a city approach that particular situation. So I just mind you to be cautious. Now, I don't want to read my citations and all that record requests. I can just hand that out, right? I don't have to read all that because I look like y'all ready to go home. Let me welcome a soldier, another one, to this outstanding leadership of Huntsville. I'm glad to have you. I believe we'll be able to either sit down and argue together and go out and get missions accomplished like John and I do when he'll talk to me. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the council? Sir, if you'll go to the microphone, please.
Mayor Battle, I don't think you quite understood my question earlier.
Sir, I'm sorry. They want your name and address again for the record, please.
Casey Brown, President, J.O. Johnson Alumni Association. People in North Huntsville aren't being heard. We've had decisions made for us in that area. McCauley and Wardinski knew that they intended on closing Johnson in January. No one found out till September. Did Butler even know they were going to close till that last school board meeting? Also, the Johnson family doesn't want the name to come off that school. James Oliver Johnson was a brigadier general. He was an educator. The National Guard named an award after him. He's in Maple Hill Cemetery down the road. Reverend Johnson came to that school board meeting only to leave in tears because he wasn't allowed to speak. And they knew he was there because when they did finally call names for people to speak, his name wasn't called even though it was on the list. I'm talking about people being shut out in this city. Their views not being honored. Their ability to shape their own community stamped out. At a school board meeting, Wardinski said, new schools get new names. He opened the floor for that discussion, so I walked right up. I said, where's the naming committee for that new school on South Parkway? Grissom flipped out. The next day, they had surveys, and they stated if you weren't in their district, you couldn't be on their survey. They surveyed the students. the next day. This woman that was sitting here, Jenny Roberts, was so rude to everyone at that meeting, making unnecessary comments. So disrespectful. Do you think Northside got the same respect to have a survey? No. Lori McCauley met with a select few that agreed with her. She appointed someone to VP of the PTA. That same person she appointed to the naming committee. That same person appeared with her weeks before wanting the name to be Mae Jemison in an AL.com interview, in a picture with Mae Jemison. That's not even pretending to be objective. So the few are outweighing the many in North Huntsville. This school board, and whatever that mystery committee is, outweighs everyone in North Huntsville. I've asked them for the minutes in which they requested the name to be changed because they said a citizens group requested it. No one can give me the minutes. So this meeting was done in a back room, like I said before. In a PTA meeting, they admitted it was done on Facebook. You change the identity of our community on a Facebook chat? So Mr. Battle, Mayor Battle, I'm asking you, can you please see about getting some transparency in this? Pretend there's a little bit of fairness in this? Because it seems like Grissom's getting listened to, but Johnson's
Sir,
not.
your time's up. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the council? Before we adjourn, I need to make appointments to the city council committees. To the top of the Alabama Regional Council of Governments, appoint Dr. Showers and myself as the chair. To Community Action Agency, appoint Dr. Showers. The Advisory Commission on Accessibility, the City Council President will handle that. And the Insurance Committees, Mr. Kling and Mr. Culver. Appoint Mr. Kling as the chairperson of the Finance Committee and Mr. Culver as the vice chairman. Now I'll entertain your motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.
You was a schoolboy.